Dear audience, welcome to the launch event of 2022. My name is Karre Parikka and I'm the head of marketing here at Plan Brothers. And first, a warm welcome for you all, and then for our CEO Arttu Vesterinen, who will be joining me for the first segment of today's event. Welcome, Arttu.
Thank you, Karle. Happy to be here, first of all, and just excitedly waiting to show what we have today. And also must say that despite the whole pandemic and all the difficulties many of us have experienced in the past couple of years, I'm super thankful also to be here today.
That is so true. I know that we have a lot on our plate today, but how about we start with something more like non-formal, maybe some birthday wishes?
Sounds good. So congrats to Plan Brothers. We have just turned into a decade-old company. So it's, I guess, a perfect time to say thank you to all our customers, first of all, our employees, all our former employees, and also, well, anybody who's been part of the journey. So thank you. And I must say, we're all lucky, first of all, as a company, because it's a milestone that not many companies are able to reach. So it's a big thing for us.
I couldn't agree more. I personally have always felt like working at Plan Brothers working with a close group of friends who have shared the same motivation.
I totally agree, and I must say we should never take this for granted. It's something we should definitely work towards in the future as well.
So before going into more detail on today's agenda, and the actual brand launch, maybe briefly explain what's on the table today. So besides the brand launch, as you can see on the screen, we will also look at the past year, the year 2021, what has happened regarding the product under the hood, so to say, and then in the final segment of today's event, we will talk about the future and what our product roadmap holds for our customers.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's dive right in. Regarding the new brand, I don't think you just want to blurt it out. No. So maybe before going into that, maybe you could tell a bit about the history of Plan Brothers.
Sure. So, like many Finnish startups, I've heard it was in a sauna that the foundation for Plan Brothers was laid out. Two of our founders, Okko Kouvalainen, who is also here today, and Eetu Kirsi, while throwing some water on the stove, came to this wake-up call that there's a regulation change in emergency planning, which us Finns are more familiar with by the name of rescue plans or rescue planning. So there was a clear market change in need of a great product and almost headless execution, which is exactly what we did. And since day one, we set out to bring a rescue plan for every building and for every business. And after that, it was pretty much a roller coaster for the next 7.5 years.
Sounds straightforward from need to execution. But how did we end up creating the other two products, Audits and Insi then?
Yeah, good question. So, first of all, we need to understand that most of us at Plan Brothers, we have never worked in the fields of, let's say, safety, security, property management, quality or risk. These areas our customers are experts in. So it meant that we pretty much needed to learn all these industries, all these use cases, and we have needed to treat many of the so-called known truths our customers know more as theories to be tested. And to test the theories, we have had to talk to thousands of users, customers and prospects. And what we learned based on those conversations were these problems of under-reporting of incidents, under-completion of corrective actions, tasks and inspections, and overall under-communication between and within organizations and departments. So essentially it's this bigger problem of under-involvement that both Audits and Insi set out to solve. It's just that the two products looked at the same problem from different angles. Insi as a hyper easy incident reporting tool, and audits.io as a mobile inspection and auditing tool.
So that brings me to my next question. Of course, a bit biased to say, but obviously, as the both products have been really successful, what was the reason for the merge?
Yeah, the reason for the merge comes back to the problem we're trying to solve. Both audits and INSI are about improving the communication around spotting and sharing and fixing issues, requests, different type of observations and feedback. Like I said, INSI takes the reactive side, so kind of like when you see something, you say something. And audits takes the like more formalized checklist perspective. You follow a section, question, checklist, and spot issues, observations that relate to those, and then fix them. It's just like two different angles. And like even though they look at different perspective, it still comes back to this problem of involving more people to these areas that matter. And speaking of involvement, of course, the merge means that there will be only one tool, which is obviously an order of magnitude more involving than having two separate tools.
No question about that. Which begs the question why we didn't do this in the first place, like developing a single platform.
Yeah, I get the point. Yeah, it's a good question, and I must say we probably should have merged them sooner. It has now taken us 2 years to finalize this leap of faith project. But then again, looking back in 2015 when we did this decision, the information we had back then was far different than what we know today. And what we wanted to do back then was the most efficient way possible to create prototypes for our customers to test. And create two separate was faster, and we also kept in mind that in a situation where one of them wasn't so successful, the other one wouldn't be so impacted if we'd kill the other project. Of course, this didn't happen, so it was about time we needed to fix this.
Yeah, like you said, a leap of faith, but for sure something a lot of our customers were waiting for. Let's rewind back a bit more and talk about Pelsu, the emergency planning platform that you also mentioned in the beginning. A company called Caverion acquired Pelsu and the part of the business in 2019. Can you, I know that not all of the details can be disclosed, but could you open up the journey towards this decision?
For sure. So first of all, Pelsu was a bit different type of business than what audits and INSI are. It had a much bigger portion of professional services linked to the offering, and I'd say bigger part of the value that customers gained for it was due to compliance to a regulation. Whereas audits and INSI, they have always been tools that you need to use to get value from them. For Pelsu, it used to be at least that even less frequent use was enough to get value. So that's one point, but even bigger point was, I'd say, that our ambition had grown. We wanted to be a company that's not just serving customers mainly in Finland, but also like in global markets. And in the end, Pelsu's original idea was linked to Finnish regulation. So that's the rational argument.
But I bet it wasn't just like a rational
Yeah, it never
decision.
is, of course. Well, I myself even didn't want to sell Pelsu at first. It just had so big emotional attachment to it with all those years and memories and memorable experiences, and like just thinking from a work perspective, many of us had put more than 20,000 hours into it as work. So it was kind of letting go of something you love. And besides that, there's also the fact that we needed to let go of some great fellow employees. So if you're here, greetings to Eetu, Eero, Janne, Juhani, Joakim, Juha, Pentti, and Angela. I hope I said all the 7 employees who left.
Yeah. And the acquisition was done in late 2019, correct?
Yeah, just before the pandemic.
Yeah. And since then, you mentioned the leap of faith. We've put all the eggs into the same basket, so to say, and work day and night to merge audits and INSI together. Besides this product side of focus that we've now had, we're also today launching our new brand, for this newly merged platform, and of course, as for us as a company. Could you open up this thought process?
Yeah, so first of all, in my opinion, rebranding should never be just about stamping a new logo or stamping a new name on top of existing one. But more than that, it's about a new identity, new narrative, new perspective for the future. And that's what we're essentially launching today here.
Couldn't agree more.
And well, speaking of the process or the journey to get there, let's rewind a bit back 10 years ago when we started. The world looked very different. Smartphones have just started to take hold in consumer life, but there were still far fewer apps than there are today. Many of these areas like safety, facilities management, risks, and even pelsos, they were managed more or less solely on desktop software, by email, and even to a big portion in pen and paper. And back then they all worked just fine. There was no problem about that. But then something changed.
And what was that?
It's the people and their expectations that changed. Today, a typical person does nearly everything with their smartphones, their most personal companions, smartphones. When you listen to music today, you don't buy CDs anymore, you Spotify it. When we stay in touch as colleagues, we don't call each other anymore. We just use Teams or Slack or WhatsApp. And it's not just millennials or the youngest generations who do this. Even my 85-year-old grandmother is an active WhatsApp user.
Yeah, everything has to be available with just a few clicks on demand, wherever we go.
Yeah, exactly. And look back, not just 20 years, but like 10 years ago, and things were completely different. Like if you nowadays watch TV series or movies from early 2000s, it's really weird to watch people walk on the streets without their eyes locked on a screen.
Yeah, I know. These days maybe like the most conversation-free zone is either like a subway or a tram full of people.
Yeah, I came by a train today and it was completely silent all the time. Which is interesting because like really important point here is that there's a whole growing generation of native digitals, people born in the 90s, roughly in the 90s or after that, who don't just prefer these digital experiences. They expect them. They've been born to them. They know nothing else. And when they face with analog only or too cumbersome, too difficult to use experiences, they just stop using them completely.
And it's these people who drive the change, so to say, even for your grandma to become a WhatsApp user.
Exactly, which is the reason why not just us, but every single business, every company, every part of business, every function, every department needs to learn to adapt how this new breed of native digitals live and work.
So fast forward 10 years to today, what has changed?
Well, kind of a lot, but then again work-wise not so much yet. Too often, still when we go to work, we're forced to use these so-called soul-sucking tools that feel like filling tax forms. And you know what happens when these so-called management systems are pushed with a rope for employees to use?
Well, only a handful of people most likely use them.
Exactly, and when only a few people are using them, can we really say we know what's going on? Can we really report to our bosses or customers about the truth of what's happening? And by the way, this problem is so common that many of our customers, many of the people have learned to unsee this. And we've even coined a term for this blindness.
Which is?
We call it management system mindset, which means that we start to serve the management system more than the actual purpose it was bought or built for.
Yeah, that's a good term since like there seems to be a growing number of different management systems that are pushed to enterprises and they all end up competing for the end user's attention.
Exactly, and when they compete the attention, it results in even less usage and involvement. By the way, you may have noticed that I really like the word involvement. I'm using it a lot, but the reason is I think the word involvement really simplifies the problem of under-reporting, under-communication, under completion of tasks. And it really boils down to kind of like too few people being involved in the areas that matter to different businesses.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because at the same time there's this parallel trend of people all over the organization from top down looking for more data.
Yeah, and I think the demand for data may have even multiplied to some degree the problem of management system mindset, because when you start to serve the data and the management system more, you may overlook factors such as how company culture, for example, reduces the reporting rates, like you said, how different management systems compete against each other in the employees' attention, or even a simple fact that employees might not even know how to categorize different issues, different observations into those different buckets.
So we should actually divert the attention to focus on the people in the field and how to serve them.
Yeah, well, first of all, we should remember the goal, why we are building or buying a system in the first place, whether it's auditing, incident reporting, whistleblowing, or a tenant portal. A lot of the time, we're looking for a system to get early warning signals, to avoid something as severe as this happening, and to improve what's already working. But the fact that we read these kind of news articles today almost daily means that there has to be a different way. And even if we don't come to like a disaster or a crisis like this, there's still the deep frustration that you may have to firefight the same issues over and over again and not earn the respect you know you deserve.
Yeah, that's most likely something at least some of our listeners can relate to.
I betcha. And to make this whole narrative here concrete, we want to make sure that everybody understands it's not like the enemy is not the software solutions themselves. Many of them work just fine for certain purposes. It's typically just for fewer users. The real enemy is the management system mindset itself. And the first step to a better future is to stop thinking that we need to forcefully push those management systems for people to use. I like to say that adding an app to a like really big management system and trying to get everybody in the field to use it feels like selling vacuum cleaners door to door during a pandemic.
So to summarize, the way we learned to operate previously worked perfectly fine in the past, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And the question we've really been asking in the past couple of years is, what would it actually take to involve everybody? What would it take to actually get a real situational picture instead of a distorted one? And our first aha moment was to understand that it's not the management teams, it's not the boardrooms or the middle managers, but together with the employees, with all those eyes in the field who are aware of different issues, different problems, improvement ideas, and those early warning signals. Mm-hmm. And these people actually really do want to tell them. We all have an intrinsic need to have a voice, to be heard, to do something meaningful, and to be involved. And that's what our brand will really be about, involvement designed for enterprises. And what that essentially means is that we should put the employee first over the management system. We should value involvement over documentation. We should show that we actually listen to everybody and don't blame them for using the wrong tool. And in the end, it's about solving the problem of under-involvement.
As the final question before we go and unveil the brand, with the new brand, what do you want our listeners to remember it for?
Yeah, so if we look at it this kind of like a business school type of 2x2 matrix perspective, where other axis is involvement and the other one, vertical axis, is enterprise compatibility with all these, like how you integrate it, are there security aspects covered, privacy, customizability, etc. Pen and paper kind of falls into not so very involving and not so enterprise compatible. But then again, most management systems are enterprise compatible. They have the integratability, you get the security with them, you get the privacy aspects covered, but most of them are not so involving. There's still very few people who like to use them. So this begs the question, what is involving them? And a good reference is WhatsApp. WhatsApp is something you use, almost every one of us nowadays use more than a toothbrush. But WhatsApp's problem is that it's not so enterprise compatible. It's hard to customize. There's of course these security aspects, privacy aspects that are not covered. And that brings to where our new brand will actually reside. We want to be, and we want our brand to be seen as a platform where high involvement meets high enterprise compatibility.
Are we ready to unveil?
Yes, we are. So the new brand to our company and to our platform is called...
Drum roll, please.
Falcony.
Really nice. All right. Hope the name and logo has now shrunk to the audience. Maybe a couple words why we ended up with this name.
Yeah, so getting back to the involvement, the word I like so much, when you kind of broke involvement into its most elementary building blocks, it's really about awareness, alertness, and action, so three things. And what's more alert, more aware, and more prone to action than a falcon? The animal that is both the fastest on the planet and has the best eyesight. So that's the bird here. But this word actually has a double meaning from the word balcony, which as a management term is often seen as like getting a wider view of what's going on. So falcon, balcony is falcony. That's the brand.
And as we know, brands being often defined as the gut feeling people have about the company the brand represents, did this impact the choice we made?
Yeah, it did, of course. We really respect all the history of where we're coming from, who we are, and wanted to install the same values, same principles from the beginning to the new brand as well. And one of those values is and has always been fun. And this bird thing as a brand at least doesn't hurt to play with it.
Yeah, have to say that I do appreciate that as the head of marketing.
I know you do, and to summarize, like what does this mean, is that the company name will now change from Plan Brothers to Falcony. The current Insi.io platform will turn into Falcony. The former Insi reactive functionalities will be called Falcony Observe, and as soon as a customer, your Audit.io functionalities are moved to this Falcony platform, it will be called Falcony Audit. So different names for different modules. And what this means is that, and this is like a final point for you as a head of marketing, Karli, that from now on we'll only have one brand instead of three.
I sure appreciate that. That brings us to the end of the first segment of today's event. Thank you, Arttu.
Thank you, Karli.
Thank you for the listeners. Now we'll have a short break, and after that we will move to the second part, looking back to the product development of past year. And for that, my colleague Anthony will be here with us in a short period of time.
Thank you.
And welcome back, and welcome to you, Anthony.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to today's second segment, the review of 2021. Could you tell a bit more about the agenda, what it will cover?
Yeah, definitely, and hello everybody from my side as well. So what we'll briefly go through is the new website. We have a new brand. We're having a new website published later today. So a brief glimpse of that, and then of course, like you and Arttu discussed, there's been a big project of moving audits into the Falcony platform. So we'll touch some points on that, and then I'll have some feature highlights later on that I'll lift up. But yeah, so we'll start with the website.
We'll do that. So here you can see a glimpse of the new design for our website. It links to the same changes, and what we want to achieve with the new website relates to changes that you've most likely already seen within the app. to make the content more accessible and more easy to consume.
Yeah, it looks really nice, and we'll definitely share this with you once it's live separately, but maybe just another highlight is also the blog, which will have some changes to that as well.
True that. The same kind of changes will happen on the blog side of things. As you might know, we are avid publishers in our blog, almost twice a week. I think the total number of blog posts relating to involvement, security, safety, all sorts of topics is close to 250 blog posts already. So yeah, like you said, a lot of changes coming there as well. And same as with the website, will be launched later today.
Cool stuff. But yeah, that's about the website. With the new Falcony brand, let's dive straight in then to our last year, 2021.
Something you want to highlight from there?
Well, yeah, we've had a really busy year, and it's been actually quite amazing on how we've pulled this off. But it all goes thanks to our great technical team and our developers. And so we've got more than 2,000 small fixes, improvements that we've pushed. 115 like actual feature updates on the software. 46 of these have been like general overall improvements. Another 46 for auditing related tasks and that use. 16 for the kind of observations, incident reporting side of stuff. 6 big integrations, and this doesn't include SSO integrations or BI tool integrations. Those we do all the time and are fairly straightforward, but these are bigger ones. I'll talk about it later. And then on top of that, 2 new modules that we've launched during last year.
Really nice. And where do you want to start?
Let's start from the top. So we'll start with a feature that kind of affects every user, which is the home page. So we added a home page for each and every user on the Falcony platform, and basically what happens there is it's an easy way to start a new audit, report an observation, but also a place for then ongoing work to kind of reside. So your ongoing audits, any incidents or observations or tasks, non-conformities, whatever you want to call them, that have been assigned to you, live there also.
And talking about the changes, who will see these effects the most?
Well, of course, this affects the customers that have been using audits.io, and now I'm moving into the Falcony brand. And don't worry if you are not in the Falcony platform yet, or as you know it now and have done as INSI, because each and every customer will contact separately and merge them into this platform. So audits.io will still be functioning after today until further notice. But yeah, the auditing side of things, we've built it into the platform, so that's obviously a big change for a lot of users. All the same functionalities that audits.io has and had have been built in, but there's some extra as well. So maybe some of the extra stuff that I'd like to highlight is now that it's in the Falcony platform, we can use the same functionality for the audit-related observations that we have for the reactive observations or incident reporting. More importantly, that kind of is about like the different forms that we have. They can have the similar kind of question types, so drop-downs, signature types, numerical fields, and so on. So it's a really great update.
Sounds good. How about the observation flow?
Yeah, that's also a good point. So from an audit, when you have an observation, that will then have that will come into the same flow. or than the reactive observations, you can filter them so that you can see one or the other, but all the other filters work there as well. And yeah, you can use the linked observations and all kinds of stuff with the observation flow, and follow up questions also, and follow up flows for the observations, like the audit related observations is there as well. So those are like clear updates and clear benefits of this.
Yeah, so the observations tab will become like almost like a news feed, so to say, for both like observations that come from the audits and of course from the reactive side of things.
Yeah, definitely. So and of course a news feed for whoever or whatever the user rights are for that specific user. So that's also good to remember.
Yes. Talking about audits, everything starts from the checklist. Any
Yes.
news about
definitely. So in the Falcony platform we have a brand new, during last year it was brand new, but an audit template editor. So you can start from scratch. You can create your template, you can edit your templates there, and select as many options as you like for the answers, customized weights for questions or sections. You can drag and drop an image to the help text and it will show as an image in the while you're doing the audit. So that's a really nice feature, the template editor.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our customers are waiting for that. Now that we've touched both the checklists and the observations, having more of both of those leads to more data, which leads to statistics.
It does. So there's a few things that we've done, of course, with the statistics as well. First of all, there's the like a table view. So this is a very nice way of just sorting out and seeing all the data, and you can use the filters, drag and drop the different columns, and edit the columns what you have. And also, when I mentioned the different questions that we can use, also that like the answers to say quantifiable, like integer number questions, you can get the answers of those, the numbers there. So and of course, if you want to really play around with the statistics, you can then export this to Excel. And if you want to automate that process, then we always have the BI tool integration as a possibility.
Which I know that we do a lot, almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
A big part, here we can see about an image about the pivot grid as well.
Yeah, so this is like the other side of then, like in the software, this is a powerful tool to then kind of have an Excel type view within the software. You can save it as your favorite in a bookmark, and it will always be up to date. So whatever, here's a very simplified one, but you can basically have 5 different variables on the X and Y axis together, and so that's definitely something that's really powerful. And of course we developed it like from scratch to get new code as well. So like just going back a tiny bit, the first lines of audits.io were already quite old, the code from code-wise. So we had a great chance of updating the code as well while we did this merge, if you like. So it wasn't just copy-paste.
Yeah, and I'm sure that is something a lot of our developers appreciate.
Yes, definitely.
Getting rid of the legacy code.
Yes, definitely. And from a user point of view, the software works better.
That is also completely true. One big thing relates to user management.
Definitely. So for INSEE users, this already has been very familiar, but for any users with audits.io who are then using the platform in the Falcony platform, the change is basically from what we had in audits.io was teams to kind of restrict accessibility and user rights. Now we have roles, and the benefit of roles is that we can basically say let's have outside people involved. We can have a cleaning company or security company or supplier, and we have that as the name of the role. So we then then just kind of when we add those users, we just select which type of role they are, and the user rights are automatically managed. So that's a big difference between these two.
Great. I think that covers all for the auditing side of things.
That's all for the auditing side of things.
So how about we move to the other exciting projects?
Well, yeah, this is actually really quite exciting. These a few new things that we were working on. So we've got a new kind of beta phase software and an artificial intelligence gadget for image parsing. And for whoever doesn't know what image parsing is, like I didn't when I was told about this, what it basically means is that the artificial intelligence recognizes what the picture is about and what elements the picture has. So for example, in this image here.
Yeah, maybe we can have a look at this image.
Yeah, let's quickly have, so
if I look at this image, I can like see that it's maybe like a harbor.
Yes, it's a dock, and for the computer it won't recognize it automatically, but the AI will. So it recognizes it's a dock, it can spot sky in the image, it spots there's water, it can spot that there is one boat in this image. So or actually, like, it probably spots two boats, because it's probably better than I am in spotting stuff. But the point with this is that when you have a lot of images, and you can then use this artificial intelligence for statistical analysis of those images. So also it kind of helps in the involvement. You get basically, for the same effort of an incident report or observation in an audit, you get more information. And this is in beta phase at the moment. So if anybody is excited about this, please contact us and let's discuss further on how we could involve you, our customers, in using this and kind of evolving the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, from the, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like from the practical point of view, if a customer would be interested in this, like the image parsing would be part of their like Falcony platform. For all images that their end users submit to the platform, the image parsing module would automatically use the artificial intelligence to label those images.
Yes, that is correct.
And then that information could be, for example, integrated to a BI tool.
Exactly, this is how it works at the moment. So it basically is then searchable in a BI tool.
Great. Anything else up your sleeve?
Yeah, well, not mine, my sleeve, but yes, we do have something else, and this also is an AI stuff, and I'm personally quite excited about this. So basically in beta phase as well, but the idea with this artificial intelligence is that it forecasts observations. So for an organization, you have a certain number over certain time of certain types of incidents and observations, and this AI can then predict in the future of like what's going to happen, and it works very similarly to weather forecasting. So it's very accurate or more accurate in a short period of time. So if it's raining now, we know it's going to probably in 1 minute it's going to still rain with a high probability. But if I would try to forecast what's going to be the weather like in the midsummer, well, I could give a guess, but it might be totally different. So this works in a similar way, and also in beta phase, so let us know if you're interested in talking about it more.
Yeah, and regarding questions and comments, I just want to remind you that we have our employees there with you in the chat. So for each and every comment or question that you have, please share them with us. We'll address those during this webinar, as well as then addressing them in a later part and delivering the questions to you in a written format.
Exactly so.
Yeah. So besides these projects, what else have we been up to?
Well, yeah, I wanted to just highlight the integrations, 6 of them that I mentioned earlier. And So, and what types of integrations we've been doing. So there's three main categories of integrations that we usually do alongside the SSO and the BI tool integrations. The first one of them is an insurance company integration. And this is really cool because if you have an accident, you have the Falcony Observe now. I have to kind of remember not to call it INSI anymore. But that side of thing, the form itself has all the information that the insurance company needs. You fill in the form there, the data goes to the insurance company. So you don't have to do the work twice. Then another type of integration is product information related. So when you're reporting something that is related to a product, usually we've done these when there's loads of products, like tens of thousands even, or even more. I don't know the actual number, but you start typing in with a certain code or name of product, and on the drop down you have all those products available. And once you select the certain product, it can then auto-populate other fields like value, for example, and we've done a few of these for different use cases.
So basically it fetches from an ERP system, or?
Yes, an ERP system, and there's a few different ways of how to do this on a technical side, but I won't go into the details there, but from a product database.
Good, good. And regarding the integrations, like how should our listeners and our customers proceed if they would be interested in hearing more about this?
Yeah, so just contact us, and of course with all integrations there's a price. The last one I almost forgot to mention is the HR integration, and that's cool because it goes very like hand in hand with the SSO, a single sign-on integration. So what happens there is the roles that we just talked about earlier, it basically automatically manages the users on the role level as well. So you don't have to separately manage users in the Falcony platform, you just manage them in the HR system. So that's like how it works. But yeah, with all of these, just contact us and we can elaborate.
Yes, so moving from the integrations to the more maybe fine-grained stuff and going deeper into the feature level, I noticed there was quite a lot of updates.
There is 115 feature updates as mentioned earlier, so we won't go through all of them, otherwise we'll be here all night. But I have three that I'd like to highlight, and the first is on the screen already, so it's basically generated answers. What this means is that in a form we can have two or more answer options that then generate an answer through a predefined kind of logic to one or more fields. And brilliant example is the risk matrix. So you select the risk like probability and impact, and it pre-populates. It can populate like a number and a name. So here we have a 3x5 matrix, but it could be a multi-dimensional matrix.
So it can be customizable fully, like the grades and...
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another example for maybe more of occupational health and safety or HSEQ is like lost time incidents, where you can fill in a date and a time of when something starts, when something ends, like, and then it calculates the total time from those two fields. So it kind of simplifies the process for the user, and also it avoids the human error side of things.
How about compliance?
Yeah, so we did the big update also, like this is more so we comply.
Yeah, true.
Not our compliance users, which
True,
we have loads. You touched it briefly already with the website, very same thing. But also the application itself has been, like, kind of the user interface has been refreshed. The contrast have been made better, and this is basically to comply with EU regulations around accessibility.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the new update.
It looks really nice and fresh, and as a little bonus, the logo of us or you, our customers, is bigger. And if any of you customers want your own logo, again, touch base, it's possible.
So besides the refinements to the visual side of the platform, what would be the next thing
Yeah,
you'd like to highlight?
I took this up. Actually, we had this already, but we did some nice modifications to this feature. But I wanted to mention this today. So basically, when INSI sends you, or Falcony sends you an email about an observation or non-conformity, you can actually answer that. It is a feature flag, which means it's not automatically available for everybody, but it is possible, and where you can then answer the email, and it then puts that email into the chat side of the observation ticket. Excuse me. And what we did is basically disable auto answers, so out of office, for example, to kind of spam the card, and also removed the signature part. So on a technical side, quite complicated, but then the outcome is really nice and simple, like our whole software.
True, I think this really nicely ties up to the topic of involvement that Arttu was talking about a lot before, like us offering our customers in those channels where they want to work. So for example, being that email or within the platform. And talking about involvement, what is the better way to involve than offering the platform in multiple languages so then end users can use them with their native choice?
You're absolutely correct, and we already have our software in 20 or available in 29 different languages, so almost all European languages and a majority of the Asian languages, and some others as well. But these are the languages that we had or activated during last year. So there's Slovenian, Greek, Ukrainian, Thai. Traditional Chinese, we already had simplified Chinese, but now we have traditional as well, and then Indonesian. So yeah, hopefully the users in these countries are satisfied with our software as well.
For sure. How about the new modules that you mentioned, a couple being released?
Yeah, it's surprising that we had time to also these, so thanks again for our dev team. But we have the first of the two here. So it's a whistleblowing module. So basically it complies with EU regulations about the whistleblower being anonymous, but still having a possibility to have a conversation with them. So this is the landing page on the whistleblowing website, can be customizable and branded to the customers' liking, and yeah, it's then it uses the same Falcony Observe kind of structure, but with of course a very limited user base. So only the people that investigate the whistleblower cases then will see those tickets.
Yeah, and like you mentioned for the front page that we can see here being customizable, like having the organization's own whistleblowing policy there on the left, the visual identity. And then from the technical point of view, how easy it is to implement, having like an open link embedded to the website or intranet or whichever form the customer wants the whistleblowing channel to be implemented on. Yeah,
I mean this module is really like there's an off-the-shelf offering, really simple, but of course you can customize it to a great extent. So it depends of course on the customer's preferences.
Yeah, and talking about customers, how many customers are using?
Yeah, we launched last year and we have about 100 customers using this.
Yeah.
So that's great.
And from the pricing point of view, I think it's made quite accessible.
Yeah, it's 120 euros starting at per month.
Yeah. So moving forward, what is the another module that you want to highlight?
Yeah, this is also cool, and this is basically maybe looking back at our old like the customer base we started with, so facility related. So this is for commercial buildings. It's a tenant portal. So basically there's two sides to it. There's a website, and as you mentioned earlier, everything needs to be on demand. So then they can get all the building related information, like where do I take my rubbish, or where can I get a parking permit. They can get that information.
What's for lunch at the restaurants nearby.
Exactly. One of the most important things.
For sure.
And then on the other side, this is then a communication platform between the property managers and the key people with the tenancies, and for sending notifications for the tenants to ask questions or have any types of requests. And one of the key things with this is also that for the property managers is, instead of handling it all in their email and CCing people, all the colleagues can quickly look at what has been communicated to which user group or which tenant group in a certain property. It's really quite exciting, and we launched this last year, and we already have like 200 buildings using it in Finland and Sweden. So really quite excited about this new module.
Me too. As we're moving towards the end of this segment, maybe a short summary.
Yeah, sure. So to sum up, we've basically try to manage to package everything so that it's easy to understand. So here on this slide, you can see the different kind of modules that we serve, and they're kind of linked closely to one another. But all of it is linked to operation and involvement. And that's basically us. Falcony is an operational involvement platform.
Exactly. Okay, thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
This concludes the second part of the event, the looking back for the past year. Next, we will have again a short break, and after that, we will move to the final section of the event, where our Chief Product Officer Konsta Vesterinen will join us to discuss the future developments of the Falcony platform. And welcome back. Let's move to the final section of the event. Like mentioned, our Chief Product Officer Konsta Vesterinen will join us to discuss the future developments of the Falcony platform. Welcome, Konsta.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Karli.
So let's continue with maybe the most requested section of the event, the roadmap, and what's ahead.
Yeah, let's first tackle the questions related to the INSI to Falcony transition period, and then go over the roadmap.
Sounds like a plan. And for that, I have a frequently asked questions document here, quite a lot of questions. So let me bombard you with them.
Sounds good.
First of all, as we are launching a new website and the brand later on this evening, but what will be the timeline for the changes on the platform?
Yeah, so it's good to distinguish between the two. So today our main website will change to falcony.io, but the INSI.io application will still remain the same. Now on the 14th of March, so roughly 1 month from now, that is the date when the INSI.io application domain will change to app.falcony.io. And the transition for this will be relatively easy, so there will be redirects from the INSI.io application to Falcony.io application. However, there are two things that customers should keep in mind. First of them is the fact that if you're using home screen applications, you should change your existing home screen application to Falcony.io. or maybe remove the old one and then create a new one on that given date. Then the other point is that if you're using currently Insider.io offline, you can export these changes. We will provide an UI for the exporting of these offline changes and then importing them to Falcony.io.
And what happens after the 14th of March?
Yeah, so the next important date is the 1st of June this year. So that is the date when we will change the email sending domain address from Insider.io to Falcony.io. Usually this doesn't have any effect on customers. However, I know some customers have pretty strong spam filters on their emails, so those need to be changed so that Falcony.io is marked as a trusted sender, and thus the emails that Falcony is sending will go through as per usual.
And how about after the 1st of June?
Yeah, so then we will have a transition period of 2 years for the next 3 changes. And these changes affect some of our customers. First of all, there is the SSO that many of our customers are using. So that needs to be reconfigured to use Falcony.io. Then the second change is related to the analytics database connection. So many of our customers are using the BI database, and that connection that they're using needs to be reconfigured to use, again, Falcony.io domain. And the third change is related to the open links. So if you have configured in the open links, those need to be reconfigured to use Falcony.io. I mean, if you print them out in your website, you need to then use Falcony.io links. But for all of the changes, there is a transition period of 2 years, and we will contact every customer separately about these changes. So there is no rush.
Good to hear that. Besides these changes, can you tell us a bit more about the future? I know that you most likely don't have a crystal ball, or actually you might have, but what are the next big themes on the roadmap?
Yeah, the future is definitely bright, and we've identified 6 separate big themes that we want to tackle. So the first of them is improvements in statistics, as you can see there. That's related to providing various different new views to statistics and also the ability to have saved searches. Then we have scheduling and recurring tasks involving external users, improving the multi-organization use, as many of our customers have multiple different organizations inside our service. Then new question types for audits, as well as collaborative auditing feature.
Sounds really good. And as always, in order for us to be able to prioritize, like prioritization is a big part of our values and how we operate, please give your feedback now in the Zoom chat. We will also collect your feedback regarding these themes during the spring throughout other mediums. Can you tell the audience a bit more about these updates we have planned for the statistics and analytics?
Yeah, so currently many of our customers are using the statistics in a way where they do certain searches and filter the statistics based on some parameters. Then they might save that given search as a browser bookmark. So we will have an easy-to-use UI for saving these various different searches in the platform itself and for later use for other users. Then we are also planning to provide other views than what we currently have in the statistics, different graphs, different views.
Perfect. I know for a fact that a lot of our customers are waiting for those changes to happen to replace the bookmarks. How about the audit scheduling and recurring tasks?
Yeah, so this is one of the most requested features that we've ever had. I mean, many of our customers who are conducting audits with our platform, they many times plan those audits, let's say 1 year ahead, and then they would want to assign them to different users. So let's say I would assign to you 5 different audits, and I would like them to be conducted in a certain time frame. So we will implement functionalities to help this out, and basically allow the admin users to make a scheduled plan for audits and then track which audits have been conducted in time, and the ability to assign them to different users.
Makes a lot of sense. We've talked a lot about involvement today in the past segments with Andy and Arttu. So what kind of plans do we have for the involvement part, and especially for the external users and third parties?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think our platform currently already has pretty good involvement features around the users which are already within the service. But we lack features in certain areas where we would like to involve external users, meaning users that are not part of the organization. And we've identified at least 3 things. One of them is that we would like to have a feedback loop for the open links. We would want to allow assigning observations to external users, and also we would like to share the audit reports and observation reports to external users straight from the application itself. Not just the PDF files, but the actual pages inside the application, if the user wishes to do so.
Moving to the next topic, I know that there's a lot of our customers who are utilizing the platform in this kind of a multi-organizational usage. Anything we have planned for these specific users and organizations in mind to make this experience more seamless?
Yeah, so we would basically like to allow having like multi-organization views for these customers, whereby they could see all the different observations from all of their different organizations, all the audits from these all different organizations, and also to be able to cross-link the different templates they are using between these different organizations.
Good to hear. And what can our customers expect when it comes to new question types?
Yeah, so this is not just about maybe question types, but more around like how we collect the information around the different questions that we have. So one of the things there is the ability to have mandatory observations. That's what we plan for the audit observation side. Then we have various different new question types coming for audits, such as multi-select questions, integer questions, number questions, even a counter question, which some Finnish-speaking customers might know by the name teermittari. Then we planned image question type. I know in many situations customers would like to have a required image for certain observation, for example. Really good.
And last but not least, collaborative auditing.
Yeah, this has been a feature that's been requested for a long time, pretty complex one though. So this feature relates to the fact that many times in certain audits people would like to conduct those audits at the same time with multiple users. Let's say a common use case scenario might be risk assessments, where 2 or more people conduct the same audit at the same time. Let's say you are conducting section A, I'm conducting section B, then section C we are conducting together. And the technical difficulties which we need to tackle here is of course the conflict management. Like what happens if I'm editing question A and you are editing question A? We don't just want to override changes. We want to be able to notify the user that, hey, this user is actually editing this question at the same time.
Yeah, sounds a bit complicated for us mere humans, but for sure something that is really useful. I just want to remind you that for these topics, like said, feedback is always welcomed and appreciated, so please make sure to give your feedback on which of these 6 themes we should prioritize next on the roadmap. And in order for us to stay on our customers' pulse and vice versa, what can you say about upcoming events?
Yeah, so we are going to have these launch events twice a year, and the next launch event will be on this given date here, so 7th of September this year. We will present new exciting features there, so we are hoping that as many customers as possible can attend this event. And then we will also have a roundtable discussion events this spring, and there will be only 6 spots available per event for these discussions, and they are gathered around different topics. So here you can see the different topics that we will have and the different dates, and we will provide registration links for these events later.
Really good. Thank you, Konsta. That wraps up today's event. Thank you to Konsta, Arttu, Andy, everybody who was present here at the venue, and of course to all you, our beloved customers, employees, and other friends of Falcony. We will be still collecting your feedback on the stream for about half an hour, so to say. So you can hang out there in the chat, and we'll reply to you at the short notice. Without further ado, see you in September the latest. Thank you.
Thank you.